Okay, so now we're talking about essential fatty acids. Omega-3 and omega-6, we've already talked about them. They're the most essential of all essential nutrients, damaged by light, oxygen, heat, here we go again, but more slowly also by water and minerals, creating free radical chain reactions, rancidity, and twisted molecules. Of all of our nutrients, they need the most care and they get the least. There's nothing else in our food supply that we dump into a frying pan and wait and watch it turn into smoke. And you know that if you turn food into smoke, you've changed the molecules because that ain't food anymore. And smoke is toxic and carcinogenic. And actually, cooks who spend 8 hours a day in front of a frying pan, because everything these days is cooked in the frying pan, have 4 times more lung cancer than normal people who only spend a couple of hours in front of the frying pan at home. 4 times more lung cancer from breathing in the fumes of the oils that they're turning into smoke and then inhaling. Okay, damage during processing and then during food preparation. And then oils that are not made with health in mind also contain pesticides and plastics that drift in from the containers. Alpha-linolenic acid is 5 times more sensitive to damage than omega-6 linoleic acid. And both omega-3 and omega-6 essential fatty acids are converted by the same enzymes, which are called desaturases and elongases, to several derivatives. And here's an interesting thing that people should question. Since the same enzymes are used to convert both omega-3 and omega-6 into EFA derivatives, the question is, why is there no problem with omega-6 conversion, but why is there a problem with omega-3 conversion, supposedly? And the answer is, we get plenty of omega-6 to start with to do the conversion. And 99% of the population gets too little omega-3 to start with. So the issue of conversion is not a genetic problem. The issue of conversion is a problem of not getting enough starting material to allow the body to do optimum conversion. Now, what people say is, no, your body can't convert omega-3s and therefore you should take fish oil. That is a marketing hype and is not true. And then some of the omega-6 and omega-3 derivatives are also converted in the body into 3 series of what's called eicosanoids that have a wide range of hormone-like regulatory functions within every cell in the body. Omega-3s derivatives are also converted into very powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory molecules. And in fact, omega-3 is the only molecule among the essential nutrients that can serve both as high energy fuel, and about 80% of what you get is burned for energy, and 20% is converted into other molecules that have regulatory hormone-like functions and do spark control as antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. Let me just say that in a different way. The high energy fuel, you want to build a fire in your body. That's your vitality, that's your energy, that's your juice. And omega-3s do that. They are more high energy than any other molecule. They're more chemically reactive, so they get you that high energy. Our athletes got 40 to 60% increase in stamina within a month of starting on the blend that we use that is richer in omega-3 than omega-6. So huge energy increase. But and that's the fire of life. But the stronger the fire is, the more sparks it throws. And the sparks are free radicals that do damage to tissues where they land. Unless you have spark control. In the fireplace, it's your screen. But in your body, the spark control is provided by anti-inflammatory and antioxidant molecules. And we'll talk about them a little more. Next slide, please. Okay, so the properties, mostly omega-3s. So vegetarians on low-fat diets often get dry skin and low energy levels. And both are improved by getting enough of the right kind of oil. How do I know that? I went to the International Vegetarian Convention, not a conference, a convention in Las Vegas. I think it was in 1996, somewhere around there, 1996, 1997, maybe even 1995. And when I got up on stage to give my talk on fats, I asked them, how many of you are on a low-fat diet? And this was in everybody was on low-fat diets. Everybody thought, and most vegetarians thought, you should be on a low-fat diet. And the low-fat craze, out of that food pyramid, they were into carbs, but limit the oils. How many of you are on a low-fat diet? All the hands went up. Everybody was on a low-fat diet. And the second question, I said, how many of you have dry skin? And all the same hands went up. And I said, here's the mistake. There's a lot to be said for plant-based nutrition. But the mistake that you're making is you're not getting enough oil. And one of the ways we measure optimum intake of oil is by how your skin feels. If your skin is dry, that shows up more in winter than in summer because you burn more oil for heat. And it shows up in deserts more than in humid places. But even in humid places, people get dry skin. So dry skin is our measure of optimum intake. Your skin should be soft, smooth, and velvety. And if your skin is, and the reason why that's a good measure is because oil, the inner organs get priority on the oils you eat, because they're required for heart function and liver function and kidney function and all your inner organs, your lung function, your brain function. They're super important on the inner organs. And skin gets them last and loses them first. So skin is a good way to measure optimum intake. The first thing that'll happen is not that your heart dries out, but that your skin dries out. You can live with dry skin. So this is nature's priority for your benefit. And the truth is, the research shows they are 5 times more. So omega-3 alpha-linolenic acid, they're 5 times more sensitive to damage by light, oxygen, and heat than omega-6. I know I've already said that. 99% of the population does not get enough for optimum health, says the research. Every cell needs them, and increasing omega-3. This is a summary of the research. Increasing omega-3 improves virtually every major degenerative condition of our time, as long as they are not damaged and are free of toxins. And what that means is anything that improves when you increase omega-3s was the result of omega-3 deficiency. Because omega-3s can only fix what lack of omega-3 causes. They will not fix magnesium deficiency. They will not fix vitamin C deficiency. They will not fix zinc deficiency. But they will fix everything. They will reverse everything that comes from not getting enough of the essential nutrient. And in this case, we're talking omega-3. Now, omega-3 and 6 ratio is important. And we found the best ratio in practice, twice as much omega-3 as omega-6. You want to have enough omega-6 not to become omega-6 deficient, because that can happen, and I'll talk about that in a bit. And you want to high grade the omega-3s because they're the most often too low essential nutrient of our time. Omega-3, I already told you, is the only fuel molecule that gets you both the fire, the energy, and provides the free radical neutralization, spark control. It is the best fuel. When we measured athletes in their sport, when they did their sport to exhaustion, within 30 days of beginning to use the blended seed oil that is made with health in mind with the 2-to-1 ratio at a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day, within 30 days, their endurance, their performance to exhaustion went up by 40 to 60%. Now, we thought the athletes were going to tell the world and make us famous. But they didn't, because when athletes, because it's so competitive, when athletes get an advantage, they keep it to themselves. So we never got them to tell the world. So we're still batting away. And the athletes we worked with: cyclists, runners, bodybuilders, weightlifters, strong men, strong women, martial artists, one boxer, football players, hockey players, marathoners, martial artists, and ultra marathoners. So we worked with quite a few different, both strength and endurance sports. They built muscle faster, they had less inflammation, they recovered and healed faster from injury and surgery. With mothers, consistently, their pregnancies are less eventful. There's research that shows that women are depleted of omega-3 during pregnancy, and they get 2 to 15 times more than men depression, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, colon inflammatory, and autoimmune conditions. The research has shown that each child depletes the mother further of omega-3s, and that's because they're required for brain development. And if the mother doesn't have enough omega-3s in her diet, nature will take it from her brain, because the child is the future, mom's the past, and if necessary, nature will sacrifice the past for the future. Each child depletes the mother further, each child gets less than the previous child. And it's also been shown that intelligence decreases with birth order. Now, there are other factors involved, so it's not 100%. But if you measure IQ of large numbers of people, oldest has the highest, next has little lower, next a little lower, lowest has the least. And that's because of depletion of essential fat by the mother, because she's not getting enough in her diet. With the people who use the oil, the kids are born more alert. I have a whole bunch of, they call them Udo babies, people whose children whose mothers took Udo's oil during pregnancy. And they're born more alert. They take more interested in their surroundings. That's considered a sign of intelligence before intelligence tests can be administered. And we call them Udo baby, and I always like to say, yes, I was not in the bedroom, but I was in the kitchen. Brain function increases. This research shows that they can increase IQ by up to 3 to 9 points. That you have more energy, but you're calmer. That you retain brain function as you age. That they keep vision strong. They're also important in sperm formation. I don't know why that's in the brain function, because, well, okay, I won't go there. And you're better able to focus, and you often have more mental stamina as well, and you become better at problem solving. And I've experienced that myself. I literally, one day in my 50s, I had to do I had a deadline, and I worked all day, all through the night, all the next day until the evening. And I couldn't do that in my 30s. I was literally able to stay concentrated for like all day, all night, all the next day. So we're talking about probably 36, 40 hours. And I was tired at the end of it, but I couldn't even do that when I was 30. Weight management. Omega-3s turn on the fat-burning genes in the body, and they turn off the fat production gene. When you take carbohydrates, they do the opposite, but they also interfere with omega-3s doing that. So we say to people, when you increase your intake of good oils rich in omega-3s, lower your carbohydrate intake at the same time. We call that a fuel switch instead of a fuel addition, because you'll see if you give them the oil and they continue eating the same amount of carbs, they might actually put on a little weight. Because if you're taking carbs have to be burned first, because if you got too many carbs, you get high blood sugar, that's toxic, then that's all driven into the cells, then you put on weight, then you get low blood sugar, that's toxic because you might die, then you get cravings and you overeat, and you get into the carb addiction cycle. Best way to turn off that cycle: lower your carb intake, get your energy from essential fatty acids. They give you stable, long-term, consistent energy. And by the way, your body can store 1 pound of carbohydrates as fuel, and it can store 300 pounds of fat as fuel. So you tell me, in nature, which one is the preferred fuel? You can run 12,000 miles on 300 pounds of fat in your body, and on that 1 pound of carbs, you can do about 20 miles, and then you hit the wall because you run out of carbs. And because you had the carbs and you carb loaded, because people used to do that, then you run out of carbs, but your fat burning isn't turned on, and that takes time. Then you drag yourself the last 6 miles to the finish line of your 26-mile marathon. So don't do that. We told people carb deplete, run your race on oil. Not everybody followed us, but the people who followed said that was amazing. I never hit the wall. And when I finished the marathon, I felt like I had the energy to do another one. They didn't do another one, but they felt like. The longest distance run in 24 hours in United States was set by somebody using the oil that we're talking about. And he ran 152 miles, which is about 6 marathons. It was either 152 or 156 miles in 24 hours. Okay, hormones. Omega-3s make hormones work more effectively at the cell receptor level. They make the cell membranes more fluid, so things move around and molecules meet more effectively, and so the reactions that they're supposed to do happen more effectively. They also maintain normal hormone function for longer as people get older. And that's because they make the hormones work more effectively at the cell receptor level, so you need less hormones to get normal function. As people age, their hormone production goes down. And so this is a very important thing to know. Okay, I can't see the rest of my slide here. Oh, that's it. Okay, next slide, please. Cell membrane. They make the cell membrane more flexible and fluid. I already said that. And then cholesterol and saturated fats stiffen the membrane, so they slow down reactions in the membranes. Joints. Our athletes, especially the ones that lift huge weights, less pain and injury of their knees, because that's where the joint injury is really common, because you just have to torque it and you can wreck it, especially when you have like 300 or 500 pounds on top of them. And they had more flexibility and mobility. Skin, hair, and nail, I've talked about skin, but hair and nails grow about 25% faster, and you get less cracking of your nails, less split end in your hair. You can detox using oil. You want to bring in a good oil, take more good oil and sweat, and then oil-soluble toxin will leave your body, and you can measure them in the oil part of your sweat. That was done for Vietnam veterans poisoned by Agent Orange, and they monitored its decrease in the body, and they measured its presence in the oil part of their sweat. You can also do oil enemas that can be helpful because it cleans out the lymphatic crypts on the inside of the anus, through which oil-soluble toxins that the lymphatic system picks up from the extremities of the body are enabled to leave the body with the stool. They lower most of the cardiovascular risk factors, and that includes blood pressure, high triglycerides, sticky platelets, high cholesterol, especially LDL, C-reactive protein, and atherosclerosis, which is inflammatory. They lower insulin resistance. They make you more insulin sensitive, so they take you away from diabetes. And in animals, including dogs, cats, horses, birds, we worked with tigers and zebras and all kinds of different wild animals, as well as pocket pets. They have more energy. They have better skin and hair coat and nails and feathers, less stiffness, They perform better if they're performance animals. They recover quicker and heal quicker from injury and surgery. And older energies have more energy. We had a Sheltie who was like 18 years old. He went from just like standing around to jumping in the back of a pickup after we started giving him the omega-3s that were missing from his diet, because omega-3s at that time were not even listed as essential nutrients for dogs or cats. They were for horses, but not for dogs and cats. And then omega-3 increases thermogenesis. So if you need to lose weight, they increase metabolic rate, they increase oxygen metabolism, and they increase heat. And it's one of the reasons why they keep you warm in winter. And if you take too much omega-3 in summer, you might actually sweat a little more than if you take a little less. I take 2 to 3 tablespoons in summer and 4 in winter. That's the difference in terms of what I need to burn for warmth, for energy. And then conversion takes place in our cells. And I have a note on flaxseed oil, which was the first oil I developed in 1986.